We did a session in Bangkok, Thailand a few months ago, and it was 15 hand-selected, invitation-only media leaders, Christian media leaders from all over Asia. So we had a guy that managed a network of Christian TV stations. We had guys that ran radio networks, online people, and we brought them together for 3 days of intensive training to just kind of up their game, how to be more effective at what you do. And it was just received very, very well. So I'm going to Brazil in a few weeks. Then we're going to India for the Indian Christian Media Conference in India. And that will probably have 300 people that come together who are church media producers and all kind of professionals to help learn how to be more effective.
And when you talk about the effectiveness, say in a
Yes.
different country, in a Thailand or an India,
Yes.
what are are the components any different than what it would take to be effective in the U.S.?
You know what? It's pretty much the same.
Right.
And what's really funny is in many countries, everybody owns a phone these days. Everybody communicates through a phone. So I've filmed, tribal leaders in the African bush who have a mobile phone. I've filmed them in Mongolia. We were in the remotest parts of Mongolia a couple years ago filming, and guess what? Everybody there has a cell phone. So to learn to communicate through your phone, through streaming, through online technology, they just eat it up, and they love it, and it makes a huge impact.
Well, there was a book we talked about. It's been out for a couple of years. I think
Yes,
we discussed it
we did.
in Texas called Maximize Your Influence, How to Make Digital Media Work for Your Church or Ministry and you. So, again, some of these ideas that you were just sharing,
well, it's
part
funny.
of that.
During the pandemic, I thought I might lose my job. We didn't know what was going on. So I went on Zoom, and I started doing teaching and training for pastors and leaders how to get through this period, live streaming and using media to get your message out. And I was asked to do a training session for 200 pastors in Russia. And it was a great session. And, right now with the war in Ukraine, we need to get the gospel into Russia in a big, big way. And so they called me again just a few months ago and said, could we get permission to translate your Maximize Your Influence book into Russian and then republish it to deliver to pastors all over the country? And the book is essentially a reference book on everything a pastor needs to know about media today. And so they did, and right now we've been raising money to help build a campaign to distribute the book in Russian to about 7,000 evangelical pastors all over that country. And they're doing training sessions, and it's just a really exciting thing to think that, my little book could have that kind of an impact in a country that's really going through a difficult time right now.
Well, yes, they are, and I wanted you to give us a little bit of intel, if you will, when you talk about these that's kind of mind-boggling.
It is.
When you think about, what was it, 7,000?
Yeah, 7,000 evangelical pastors. The media doesn't talk about them. It's always about Russian Orthodox leaders and big church leaders. But I'll tell you, the gospel is alive inside that country, and it's so sad because what's happening with Russian leadership is really suppressing a lot of these guys and making it very difficult. But they're doing some amazing things, and they're doing big training sessions, and they're doing big evangelistic campaigns. And the most interesting thing is they're using the media, which is you and I. For you and I, this is our heartbeat.
Well, and I remember back in the days after the fall of the Soviet Union, you had something called, and I was trying to think, was it the Commission? Was it called the Commission? It was something that the Campus Crusade and a lot of other organizations. And I know that the leaders of that were saying, well, we've got a window here to go into Russia with the gospel. Well, then you see things like Putin coming into power and suppressing the spread of the Christian message and the evangelism and having a ban, I believe, on proselytizing in Russia. So Phil, there's a little disconnect here. Someone might say, okay, so here's a book called Maximize Your Influence, and you've got all these Russian pastors that are living under these oppressive laws to try to minimize the impact of the gospel. So how does that all work?
Well, now's the time. They need it now more than ever. I can tell you that, and it's really true. But media is such a powerful thing. Through social media, through the online world, through streaming, Putin can't control everything. Certainly, they're trying, but they can't control everything. I was with one pastor in an Arab country that's going through a difficult time right now, who said, he's got 4,000 church members, but they can only meet in groups of 100 at a time because they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be on the radar. You got to be very careful.